Welcome and thank you. I've got an absolute humdinger of an unhinged headline for you today, and happily it's not from the Daily Telegraph. We're stretching our net, casting our net a little wider. I'm looking at the national prediction of what the latest YouGov poll would do to Parliament, and I'm laughing. Well, I'm not literally laughing, you'd be able to hear that, but I'm inwardly laughing. Well, I might as well literally laugh. I'm chuckling because I've just realised something about modern British politics. It's very, very, very hard to say no way, isn't it? I don't know how much attention you were paying to the local elections on Friday when this story took hold and started sweeping around the country, not just the capital, that Susan Hall might pull off an amazing surprise and actually deny Sadiq Khan a third term. In the event, of course, I think he came back with a stronger result than he's had in the previous two mayoral elections in which he has stood. And even then, when it sounded crackerjack, didn't it, really? I mean, this is the woman who claimed she'd been pickpocketed and then turned up here to do an interview about how crime is rife in Sadiq Khan's London and had to reveal that a community-minded citizen had actually handed in her lost travel card wallet with cash still in it. And yet she was so bereft of political acumen that she attempted to spin that still into some sort of attack upon Sadiq Khan. I mean, the relationship between competence and conservatism, I think, became estranged some time ago. But I still thought, and I don't want you to take offence at this if you voted for any of the various madnesses that we have endured over the last few years, and there's plenty of people in the Labour movement who voted for madnesses. I suppose everyone has voted for a madness. If you cast a vote in the 2019 election, you essentially, if you've cast a vote for either of the two main parties in the 2019 election, then you arguably cast a vote for madness, differing forms of madness. But I had this little voice in the back of my head, even as I was giggling at the idea of Susan Hall winning in London. I found myself thinking, yeah, but I mean, look at what we have done. Look at what ballots we have delivered. I appreciate that we didn't put Liz Truss in Downing Street, but the Conservative Party membership did. I use the term very loosely, put Boris Johnson not only in Downing Street, but replete with a majority of 80 in the House of Commons, despite his entire platform being built obviously and demonstrably upon lies and nonsense and narcissism. The B word is obviously going to make an appearance at pretty early doors in this. We voted as a country, as a population, to become the first population in human history to cast a democratic vote to impose economic sanctions on ourselves. An act of such extraordinary madness that it is still probably not fully understood how stupid that was. And so on Friday, when I sat here sniggling inwardly at the prospect of Susan Hall beating Sadiq Khan to the London mayoralty, I still had a slice in my mind of, well, you never know. I mean, is there anything so mad that you could confidently say to me, James, put your money away, it ain't ever going to happen? Because what I'm looking at today is a YouGov poll that has the Labour Party 30 points ahead of the Conservative Party. I think it was tiptoeing through similar territory in the glory days of Liz Truss's administration. I do think we've seen the 30 before, because I almost certainly made the same joke when Labour was 30 points ahead of Liz Truss's Conservative Party, which was that any other leader but Keir Starmer would be 40 points ahead. I'm not going to explain that joke. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. And someone has extrapolated, Michael Thrasher, I think, has extrapolated from these numbers what it would do to parliamentary arithmetic. And guess how many seats the Tories have? If this percentage is successfully, or rather, if it is being correctly extrapolated, which, I mean, spoiler alert, it isn't. But you can technically describe it as an extrapolation. So Labour on 48, the Conservatives on 18. You can extrapolate from that what parliamentary arithmetic would look like. How many seats do you think the Conservatives would have? I glanced at the clock there to see if I could string out the suspense over the hiatus, but I don't think I can. We're still technically 7 minutes off it. Although I say technically, I'm going to make a special effort today to hit my junctions on time. Keith, you'll be delighted to hear. Would you like to know why? Well, I had a book event last night, and a doctor asked me to, because he likes to time his appointments so that he can listen to the programme in snatches. And if I'm all over the adverts, then it plays havoc with his scheduling. So I'll be doing my best to accommodate that request today, and almost certainly failing. But it's the thought that counts. So how many seats do you think the Tories would have if this YouGov poll were to be successfully extrapolated into parliamentary arithmetic? I don't know what's actually more shocking, the number of seats the Tories would have or the number of seats the Labour Party would have in Parliament. Absolutely no prizes for guessing how many seats the Reform Party would have under pretty much any extrapolation of any poll. They would have 0 seats, but nonetheless, they will be popping up in every studio and media outlet near you for the foreseeable future. Quite why that is, I do not know, but that is one of the great truths of modern politics in this country. And of course, giving so much attention to the party that tacks to the right with populist nonsense is a large part of the reason why the country is in such a mess. So UKIP 2.0 currently getting its toes tickled in exactly the same way that UKIP 1.0 got, and everybody's sitting around wondering why they can't get medicines. The checks at our ports are absolutely catastrophic, and the GDP has taken a hit, according to Rishi Sunak's former employers at Goldman Sachs, of about 5% a year. But hey ho, let's all treat Richard Tice like a proper politician. That'll work out well for us all. So they'll get 0 seats, no prizes for guessing that. But if you can guess how many the Tories would get, I'll give you the money myself. 13 seats. And the reason why I opened this by suggesting to you that one lacks the confidence in the modern British politics to poo-poo anything. One lacks the confidence to say, and I lacked the confidence to say this on Friday, and I'm sorry. I lacked the confidence to say there is no earthly way Susan Hall is going to win the London mayoral election, because I had this sort of double movement on either side of me. On one side of me, I said, well, there's an awful lot of lethargy out there. Sadiq Khan hasn't run a brilliant campaign. His chief campaigning platform seems to have been, vote for me, I'm not Susan Hall, which is a pretty compelling reason to vote for anybody, really, up to and including Count Bimface. But it's not what you'd call a tantalising offer, electorally speaking. And then the other voice, the other pincer, was, mate, look at what's happened over the last few years. Look at what people have voted for. And then you sort of found yourself going, I lack the confidence to say with my full chest that Susan Hall has not got a hope in hell of beating Sadiq Khan. So I didn't say it. And everyone ended up looking stupid on Friday. No one ended up looking quite as stupid as Laura Kuenssberg. But that is, again, one of the great political truths of our time, isn't it? 13 seats, ladies and gentlemen, is the figure that you can extrapolate from this polling to deliver the Tory presence in Parliament. Not 30, 1-3. 13. Lucky for some. 13 seats, while the Labour Party would have 551. And I have the confidence to say to you today, and you can come back and mark my homework when we ever get a flipping election, there is no earthly way the Tories are going to get... Well, there's no earthly way they're going to get 13 seats. I'd bet my house on that. I don't think they're going to get fewer than 100. Once you do the calculations properly and dig into it sensibly, I cannot see a Tory presence in Parliament of less than 100, fewer than 100 seats.